You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 134.3, our college football playoffs update with Eric and Ryan Robinson. Only this week without Ryan. He could not be with us tonight, but will join us on Thursday when we break down all of Tuesday's and Wednesday's games for our next edition with Eric and Ryan.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Well, Eric, we're going to talk about this week's playoff game starting on, I guess tonight for when we're releasing this podcast on New Year's Eve. But we haven't talked about last week's games yet, except for the Notre Dame game. So, your overall impressions of the first week of the playoffs?
Well, I think it played out similar to what all the talking heads felt like with SMU being maybe should not have been in the field. You look at what Penn State did to them. I mean, that wasn't even close. But there's two big takeaways from the other games that are really going to carry into this week. I thought Texas, the way they ran the football, I've not seen that from them all year. They rushed for 292 yards against a pretty good Clemson defense. I thought that was very impressive. Showed a little bit of different side of the Texas offense. And then also, you look at what Ohio State did to Tennessee. I had picked Tennessee, and Ohio State just came out and dominated them. I think the numbers, if you look at what that Ohio State defense held Tennessee to 200 yards under their average on the year, total offense. Just a dominant performance from Ohio State. And I do recall during our podcast a week ago, I did say that Will Howard would have to go over 275 yards passing in order for Ohio State to win. And he threw for 311, the most he's thrown for all year.
But they would have won if he'd thrown for 150.
Right, but they needed to come out and use the receivers and do what we've seen them do before, which they've gotten away from. Definitely against Michigan, but the offense has been a little bit stagnant the last couple of weeks for Ohio State. So to see them come out and be who we thought they were, who I've said they were all along, the best team in the country, that was a huge takeaway. And I'm wishing I could go back and change my bracket now because I had picked them to beat Oregon in a rematch, and we're going to see it in a couple of days.
Yeah,
I like Ohio State on that neutral field. I really do, and I would almost take Ohio Sate to win it all again.
Yeah,
or at least make the finals.
I hear you. That's exactly. I think I might do the same with Texas, but just for the record, I picked all four games right. I picked those four teams to win this week as well. So I have never in the history of the college football playoffs missed a pick. Just
right. Your track record is impressive too.
4-0.
4-0. Yeah, hey, I'm 3-1, and I will surpass you this week.
Yeah, you probably will. But let's. There have been a lot of bowl games this week. Anything that jumps out you besides Cam Ward?
Not really. I thought Colorado laid an egg.
Yes.
But I'm glad they played. I'm glad that they all went out and played. But one thing I learned, the college football playoff definitely has diminished my interest in the other bowl games. I haven't watched hardly any of them. I haven't watched hardly any of them. And before, if we were waiting for a 4-team playoff to happen in a few weeks, I would be all over all these bowl games. And I haven't been. So that's a little bit disappointing, but it is what it is.
Well, we got a full day of them tomorrow. That was my next question. And I think some of them are actually should be pretty interesting games. So, of these games, which one interests you the most? Alabama, Michigan, Louisville, Washington, South Carolina, Illinois, or Baylor, LSU?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. The Illinois South Carolina game is the only one I will have any interest in. I'll follow Alabama and Michigan just because there's two pretty big brands of in college football, so I'll pay attention. But to me, to put Illinois up against South Carolina, a team a lot of people felt got the shaft and not being in the playoff. I would love to see Illinois beat them. Represent the Big Ten. Not only would it be a big win against the team projected in the playoff or wanted to be in the playoff, it's Big Ten versus SEC head to head. So I think that game means a lot, um, just for the brand of the Big Ten and what they're trying to be. So I really want to pay attention to Illinois.
Same with Alabama, Michigan. I think if Michigan can win that, the thing with bowl games is you have no idea which teams have checked out and which teams are interested in playing.
Right, and I think South Carolina is very interested in playing. They got a little chip on their shoulder and feel like they've been left out. So um, I think they're going to be full strength, ready to go. I would think I would be as a player. I mean, I know times are different than what back when we were playing, but I'd sure as heck be ready to go out there and play.
I hear you. All right, let's look at the four games for this weekend. Um, First of all, the only game on Friday night should be a really good one: Penn State versus Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. Your thoughts going into that one, and who do you think's going to win?
Well, I got Penn State winning easy. Um, Two things before we get into each individual game. Just to touch base on the format and why everyone is so upset about the 14 bye and so Penn State is minus 11. How would you like to be Boise State? You get a bye. You get a bye and you're an 11-point underdog in your first game. That tells you right there the seeding is horrible. And then again with Texas is minus 13 against Arizona State. That should never happen. I mean, that should smack the committee right in the face and be like, hey, yeah, this is way wrong. I mean, it's messed up in my opinion. But back to Penn State,
But
Boise.
I like it. I like the way it's set up. I think it's. I get what you're saying, but what we need to do is just go to 24 teams, and then we can just avoid all that. And then we can have all of those games be bowl games. Then we'll be interested in all the bowl games again.
Yeah, and that would be one way to fix it. But
Yep.
it's broke. I mean, me and you will disagree on this forever, and that's great.
Yep.
That's good for sports talk, right? But
Right.
there's no way you should reward Boise State for having 2 wins over UNLV. Sorry.
I
It's
think
my
if you win
opinion.
your division, or you win your conference, that should outweigh everything else, almost everything else completely. But we're never going to agree on that, so
We'll let it go.
we'll let it go.
I think if you look at the Penn State offense and what they did at Oregon, what they did to SMU, um, Drew Aller's playing really good football. And Boise State, like I said, other than a really good showing versus Oregon early in the year, I think week 2, I think it was week 2. Um, like I said, they've beat UNLV twice. One thing that stands out to me is the Boise quarterback, Maddox Madsen. He throws for about 220 a game, but versus the top 20, which would be the two games against UNLV and the game against Oregon, he threw for 200 plus versus Oregon, but he's only averaging 170 against the AP 25. So his numbers go way down versus good teams. Of course, they still have Ashton Genty at running back, but even if he was to run for 300 yards on that Penn State defense, I don't think they can score enough because I think the Penn State offense is going to run all over that Boise State defense. That defense ranked 61 in the country, Boise State. So
Against a less than stellar schedule.
exactly, and they haven't played any. They've played one really good team.
Right.
Not to knock UNLV, I think UNLV can compete.
Right. We're not saying Boise State's awful. We're just saying
No,
you're just saying they don't deserve to be the third seed.
They don't deserve to be the third seed. And I think this final score is going to show you why they should not be the 3 seed.
All
But
right.
you got to play the game. Anything can happen.
I will be surprised if it's more than 11, Eric. I'll just be
I,
very surprised.
I think we'll circle back on this. I think Penn State covers easy.
Okay. I think Boise State is in this game late into the game. I won't be surprised if they beat them. Uh, I, I I don't expect them to beat them. I picked Penn State to win the whole thing, but
Right.
I won't be surprised. I think Boise State's that good. I think, in fact, I think every team left in this tournament is capable of winning it. Um, Boise State and Arizona, I wouldn't say that they have a good chance of winning it, but them beating any team would not surprise me. You know.
I don't disagree with that because I think the same thing about Arizona State as you do Boise.
All right, well,
I
let's
think
talk about Arizona
yeah.
State then. first game,
Um,
first game on Wednesday, Arizona State versus Texas in the Peach Bowl. That, of course, is in Atlanta. 1 o'clock on ESPN. Your thoughts on Texas and Arizona State?
well, again, we talked about the minus 13. Texas is a huge favorite in this game, and the way they ran the football against Clemson was really impressive. However, I'm sticking to my guns on this matchup because I picked Arizona State last week. I'm going to stick with them because there has to be an upset, right? Somewhere.
I would think
This is
so.
this is my upset pick because I've not been impressed with Texas as a whole for an entire game. They've been so inconsistent on offense. And the thing I like about Arizona State, and I don't have this would have been a game Ryan would have covered really well because so I'm a little bit unprepared. But the thing I like about Arizona State is I think their head coach is a complete maniac, um,
Yes.
drama queen. Um, and you paid attention to the trash talk?
No, but it doesn't surprise me.
The quarterback Sam Levitt says we're finally going to see who the best quarterback is.
Good for
And then
him.
today the running back, Cam Scottaboo, who is super good at running back. He just plows over everybody. He came out today and was talking about how there is no one that can stop him. So I love the confidence. It's a little bit Signetti-ish, and we saw what happened when their coach was talking some trash before the Notre Dame game. Be careful doing that stuff. But I like that edge Arizona State has. I know they're not scared. They're ready for this, and I think this is going to be an exciting game. I'm sticking with my pick.
Well, I'm taking Texas. Ryan is also taking Texas to win this one, but I get where you're coming from, and it again won't shock me at all if Arizona State wins this game.
Yeah, agreed.
I have a feeling that Texas is in for at least one more win. The third game, 5 o'clock on New Year's Day, Ohio State versus Oregon at the Rose Bowl, which is a very good matchup for the Rose Bowl. Love that. Love to see them stick to those traditions
Yep.
with those matchups. But anyway, you said you picked Oregon before. Now you're thinking maybe Ohio State wins this one.
Right. I picked Oregon in my bracket. I have been picking Ohio State all year in this
Right.
rematch and to win the whole thing. The Michigan game just left such a bad taste in my mouth. It's like, what the heck are we doing? But they dominated Tennessee, and that's a good Tennessee football team. And they didn't even belong on the field with Ohio State. I'm gonna go back on my word here. I'm taking Ohio State. I'm gonna stick to what I've been saying up to the last couple of weeks. I think there's too much talent on the offensive side of the ball for Ohio State. I think when you look back at the first game, Will Howard played. He had 2 huge turnovers in that game.
Yeah.
The difference in that game was the 2 turnovers, and Dylan Gabriel was the best player on the field that day. He carried Oregon down the stretch and made play after play. But at one point, lost on the road in Eugene. You don't want to lose, but that's not a bad loss. I mean, there's not going to, no one's going to go in there Not too many teams go in there and win. So I like the neutral field of this. Like I said, if they play again on a neutral field, I would take Ohio State every time. Um, and I'm going to take them again this time. I love Jeremiah Smith and Mbuka to have huge games. Again, Will Howard's got to throw the ball, man. Throw that football.
That's right. By the way, I picked Ohio State to win this originally. As I said, the four teams that won last week, I picked to win this week. Ryan also picked Ohio State to win, so I think Oregon's definitely winning this game, Eric.
I know. And how do you feel if you're Oregon? You win the Big Ten. You beat Ohio State once already.
Right.
You play them. You play them again, and you're a 2.5-point underdog.
That's right. That's right.
And Michigan's coming off a terrible loss prior to the Tennessee game. I'm not quite sure how that adds up, but the people doing the numbers know way more than I do. But
Well, I think we've been seeing the same thing that they've been seeing, that if you stack them up most weeks, Ohio State's better than everybody else. You know, they have the two losses. I get it. 2 weeks they weren't better than everybody else, but most weeks they just are better than everybody else, and that's why I picked them to go to the championship game, even knowing that they just lost to Michigan and that they lost to Oregon earlier. The numbers don't add up, but if you watch the games, no one's going to be surprised if Ohio State beats Oregon. And then we have the big one. Notre Dame was the first game last week, and now they're the last game this week. I think the college football likes them in prime time.
you
8:45.
think?
Yeah, 8:45 on ESPN in the Sugar Bowl, all-time classic Sugar Bowl matchup here. Notre Dame versus Georgia. Other than you wanting Notre Dame to win, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, let's go back a minute to what you said about prime time. This is the part. This is why people hate Notre Dame, right?
Yes.
Why, the first playoff game, it's got to be Notre Dame Friday night, the only game. Saturday, now they're playing the last game on prime time. People hate them because they are a draw. The networks love them.
Yes, they do.
And they do, and that's why a lot of people. If you don't love Notre Dame, you hate Notre Dame because of stuff like this.
That's exactly right, and that's what makes them such an attraction. I've always watched Notre Dame games to watch them lose.
I know. You're not alone.
Exactly. So
You are not alone.
and by the way, Notre Dame has to have the most fans nationwide. It has to be, right?
I would think so. I mean, they're globally. I mean,
Yeah,
they are global.
They're associated with the Catholic Church, and therefore, probably without question, the most fans across the country. So it's not a
Yeah,
surprise they're being put in prime time.
yeah, not at all. But back to the game, I said before, I like this matchup better than the IU matchup. Our defense we're going to hang our hat on our defense and our running game, right? Nothing's going to be new there. We've got the number 8 defense in the country, and that Georgia defense has slipped down to number 35. I mean, this is not the Georgia team everyone's used to seeing. Okay, they're not. And really, I mean, Georgia Tech had them on the ropes and should have beat them 3 or 4 times in that overtime. They really shouldn't even. They're one play away from not even being in this playoff, let alone be the number 2 seed.
Yes, I haven't seen them be impressive since early in the season.
Well, the first half when they played at Texas,
Oh,
that was very impressive.
Right.
But they have, to me, I agree with you. I think they're good. I mean, their defense is
Sure.
fast and they make plays. They're good. Carson Beck's good, but he's out. Even the receivers, they just don't have the playmakers on offense. Other than that running back, Etienne, he's very good. I really like the Notre Dame defense to keep them at bay. We got a lot of questions with the quarterback, Gunnar Stockton. What's he going to do? What are they going to change up their philosophy on what they want to do offensively with Carson Beck not playing? Everything Marcus Freeman and Al Golden say is they won't. They are who they are. And Gunnar Stockton has been running that offense behind the scenes all year, and they're going to come out basically with the same type of approach on what they want to do on offense. We'll see how that plays out. I'm not sure. To me, when I watched him play in the SEC title game, I look for him to run a lot and them to have a lot of set quarterback runs. He doesn't look like he's going to throw the ball downfield a whole lot, but I think he's going to get out on the move and make plays. Just a lot of question marks on the quarterback play for Georgia. But I like our defense. I got so much trust in what Golden does. He's going to have that defense ready to go.
Notre Dame is favored by, or actually Georgia. It went from Notre Dame being favored by 1.5 to Georgia being favored by a point. That's
yeah, Notre Dame. Yeah, Notre Dame is +1. Another key thing to look at in this game, you got Riley Mills out for Notre Dame. That's huge on that defensive line. But they've had Howard Cross has been out, and they had Donovan Hennish has stepped up big time and played great for them on that D line, and also Kingston Viliamo Ase has looked like he's going to be a go. He's been out for about a month at linebacker. That's a big deal. That kid can make plays. I mean, he is a playmaker, so that's huge for Notre Dame. I don't see how we don't. This is going to be a signature win. This is going to be the win where finally everyone says, holy crap, what does Marcus Freeman have going on up at South Bend? This is going to be a program to be reckoned with, because Freeman's not going anywhere. Al Golden's not going anywhere anytime soon. And hopefully we keep Denbrock on. And they're just loaded up with guys coming in. I'm so excited about where this program is.
Are you a little worried that you're too excited? Does that concern you that you have such great expectations here that you're going to be let down like you have been for a long time as a Notre Dame fan?
No, because that's how resilient I am as a Notre Dame fan. I do this all the time, and I do get let down. I'm not gonna change what I feel, and when you look at it on paper and you watch every game like I've done this year and really dive into the numbers and the matchups, I really like this. And let me tell you another thing. Riley Leonard's going to throw for the most yards he's thrown for all year in this game. You watch.
Thanks so much to Eric Robinson for joining us once again. And we expect to do another podcast either on Wednesday night after the games, depending on what happens in the Notre Dame game, or maybe sometime Thursday. And we will have our reactions to all of the NCAA football playoff quarterfinals. Thanks for listening. We always appreciate it. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow us on your favorite podcasting site. And it would be very helpful if you would tell a friend. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media.